Okay, my name is Filipp Keks. Hello everyone. I work in a company called Creative Mobile, and today I will be speaking to you about Unity. If you don't know what Unity is, it is a new, very rapidly emerged game development engine, which is currently quite popular in the industry. I'm sorry about the Google Docs. Maybe some refresh will help. Technology never works as you want. Please. I know why. Because you're all using mobile phones and you're grabbing my Wi-Fi away. Turn them off. Oh, yes. Perfect. Okay, as I already told, so Filipp Keks, Creative Mobile, Unity, DEVCLUB. Very good. Currently, I'm working on the project which is called Nitro Nation. It is a racing game for mobile phones, which is done using this Unity3D gaming engine. Maybe actually this game is already online on the Google Play Store. Maybe someone already played this game. Raise hands. Two hands, okay, not so much. Maybe some of you played the our Creative Mobile hit game called Drag Racing. Okay, some 4 hands. Very good. At least you know what is drag racing. So Nitro Nation is like a sequel for drag racing, which is in 3D, more cool with more features and like realistic physics and so on. I will make a small presentation of the game and then continue.
Not going to download the assets from the internet.
Huh?
You're not going to download the assets for the game from the internet.
I hope not. I hope not. So, oops, wrong window, this one. So, if you're a guy, you of course like cars. And if you like cars, you will of course like this game. Like, it's like you have like a nice looking car with all the realistic visuals and so on. You can play with it like girls play with dolls. paint, some random colors, if you like. Put some images on it. Some nice, I like this devil. So, girls play with dolls, guys play with cars, and of course, you can race. The only thing about the drag racing, if you don't know, is that you can drive only forward, no turning. So, like, the point of the game is just who goes faster with a given distance. The physics engine which is used in this game is bought from one company which actually makes physics engines for the real simulators, like simulators used by police or for training truck drivers. So we took this real powerful physics engine and put it inside the mobile phone. Actually, most of the resources which our game consumes is to calculate physics. For example, you can make your car like put the front wheels up, and it happens not because we programmed it to do so, but it happens realistically with physics. Okay, we'll just make some drive. Actually, I don't know how to put the front wheels up. Some very professional gamers can do it. I win, yes. I can maybe show you even a little bit of the internals of the game. This is, by the way, the editor of the Unity, which I'm showing to you. I will talk about it a little bit later. Now I'm just showing that this is the track, which is actually a very small part of the road, not the whole road. Only this part which is visible in the camera while it's following the car. So the real details are much smaller than you think. Other details you just think by yourself. Okay, let's continue. Enough of demo. Continue with presentation. Yes, this is this CarX logo. It's actually a Russian company which makes this engine. Okay, long time ago, when we were young and kids, maybe not all of us were too young, but the games were so small and so low budget that only one person could develop the whole game from the beginning to the end, with all graphics, all programming, all sounds and so on. Each of these games is made with very small team. I think Another World was done by one person. And those games were creative and very interesting. What happened now? The budgets of the games rise up so high that now the small team of developers cannot afford to develop the game of the same quality as big corporations do. And of course, when big corporations take over the business, they started to make games not for fun, but for the money. And all the games started to be boring. The whole industry is filled with first-person shooters which look alike and for me not interesting at all. Actually, it's what happens with every industry in the capitalistic society. It starts from the something interesting and then ends with big corporations and money. But Unity appears suddenly. Unity is a gaming engine which is very simple for the young developers, and it allows to independent developers to develop games with the same quality as big corporations, but using much less budget and less time. Actually, it's okay. how it started. It all started by the pair of Danish students back in, I think it was 2003 when they made the first version. And then the popularity of Unity suddenly rise up with the help of evolution of mobile phones. So they made Unity, first they made Unity, then they made it to work for mobile phones. And then when mobile phones went up, Unity went up with it. Same what happened with Windows, Microsoft DOS and IBM, actually. And of course, what helping Unity right now is a very strong indie game development movement and like a community of developers. What also helps the popularity of the Unity engine is their business model. Their price is quite low comparing to other gaming engines. Like, for example, Unity can be bought for a price $75 a month, I think, like subscription. They made like a subscription payment, same as done by other companies currently. And for example, if you want to use Unreal Engine, which is very popular right now, like main concurrent of Unity, Unreal Engine, they would like to have 20% of the profit which a game makes, which could be quite a lot. Comparing.
Changed recently to 10%.
Yes. Actually, this is the point what Unity changes the world. They started to make the same, they lowered the price because Unity, everybody started to buy Unity, not their engine. What Unity also has, but other engines doesn't have, the very advanced free version. Like actually to make games with Unity, you don't have to pay any money. You have a free version which lacks of some features, but if you're for starter, if you're a young developer who just figuring out how to make games, you can make a quite good game with a free version. Actually, a year ago, they even included the building games for mobile phones, for desktop platforms. I think you have to pay money only to develop for consoles like Xbox and PlayStation. What is good about Unity is that it's totally expandable. It can be changed by any kind of plugins. Plugins can even change the editor, the Unity editor, where you develop the assets. You can change it using some plugins, add some more windows and so on. And actually, which is why Unity could make the price so low for the product. Because actually the most income which they have comes from Asset Store. Asset Store is a kind of like an Apple Store integrated inside the Unity environment. With difference, it doesn't sell apps, it sells different parts which you can use to develop your games, like models, textures, or scripts, and something like this. This asset store actually helped to build very wide community of developers which earn money just by making some kind of interesting models and put it online for sale. And there are a lot of free stuff also. About the plugins, I have some logos here, like Facebook and Google. Like big companies like Facebook and Google, they are fighting to develop their own plugins to integrate with Unity. Actually, if you develop a game with Unity and you would like to have a feature to like me on Facebook or to share this race or something, you can just plug in, go to Facebook page, official page, download official plugin, and you have one API for any platform. It's very cool. The other game engines doesn't have this. Same for Google. And I have a small logo dive here. this is the project which I met on the same asset store. These are the German guys who developed this interesting device I have here. I will show you. Everybody know what is Oculus Rift. Yeah. So some German guys, they thought like, why the hell we need Oculus Rift if we already have a mobile phone which has an accelerometer, gyroscope, and a high-resolution display. We just need some device to put it on my head. So you just slide your phone here, put it on your head, couple of lenses, and you go to play like these stereoscopic games with your mobile phone. Very, very genius, I think. After the presentation, if you're curious, you can come here. I will show you how it works. And these guys also made a plugin for Unity. You just plug it in, install to your phone, put it here, and ready to play. Very easy. Why I like Unity? I like Unity because of the number of platforms which is supported. Especially I like this penguin here. Comparing, for example, to Unreal Engine, I put number 3 there because like I actually made this presentation a little bit earlier. Now they released the 4th version, which was mentioned that the 4th version is actually now cheaper than Unity, and in the 4th version they supported all the same platforms which supported by Unity. Like it shows something, like our development world is moving towards Unity. It's very cool. And comparing to Adobe Air, which supports even less platforms. Why I'm mentioning about Adobe Air is because a lot of old games written on Flash is currently being ported for mobile phones using Adobe Air. And like it's a kind of game engine in this sense. Of course, Unity is very cool. Everybody loves it, but it has its own minuses. The guys at Unity, they struggle so hard to put a lot of new features in every new release that they often forget about quality. So new features emerge, but they don't have time to fix some old bugs. Unity has quite poor documentation comparing to other projects I worked with. But probably if you're a passionate student who wants to just make games, he doesn't care about documentation much. Unity is not designed for large projects. For example, our project, it is in just, if you get it from SVN, we have like 3 gigabytes of assets. And to open the project just the first time, Unity takes about 40 minutes to process all the assets. So no, it's only the first time, but it's quite hard to wait. Unity promised in the 5th version that it will be optimized. 5th version is coming in a couple of months of Unity, new version. And problem with bugs, Unity. They have like an open kind of Bugzilla where you can submit your bugs. During my work with Unity, I submitted about 20, 30 bugs, and I have response only for 1. I worked with Unity more than a year, so they don't like to fix bugs a lot. Okay, coding time. Internet is gone again, but never mind. Okay, I didn't want to talk a lot, so I think you guys are technicians all, and you like to see code. Okay, I have a kind of demo scene here. This is Unity editor. This is the environment where you actually develop the game. not writing the code, but developing, like putting assets together and so on. For code, they use MonoDevelop. This is the scene actually which was made by the Unity guys. I will run it first. Unity has like a quite a large team of developers whose task is just to develop some new interesting scenes to show others what is engine capable of. For example, we have some particles here, some moving humanoid with skeletal animation. I won't go into detail too much. It is cool that all these scenes which are developed by Unity are free to use. For example, I can take any part of this scene and put it into my project, and I don't have to pay for it anything. And I can even ask, like, sell it without modifications and so on. So what interests us are these two small robots here. One is a boy and one is a girl. You can tell by this small decoration. What we want to do is to make the robots move. For example, if I select the robots, we have, I will zoom in. Okay, visible? Okay, we have here kind of like an, sorry, I will start from this part. Why I also like Unity is because it's very similar to web programming. We have here the hierarchy of the scene, and actually every object is containing here reminds me of HTML tags. Each object has some attributes which are displayed here. If I choose another object, it displays different attributes. So it's very similar to HTML. And even in the code, you can search those objects in this hierarchy with something similar to CSS. And you can write a code using JavaScript. So if you're a guy who used to develop some small websites, you know HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, you can manage to do with Unity something in one day already. So it's very similar. So I choose the object. If you see, it's like a robot male. It is selected here and here at the same time. And it has some attributes, like it has attribute transform, which shows where the position of the object in the world, some meshes, some textures here, define it, and so on. So it has a lot of different stuff which only represents how it looks like and where it is in the world. It has no behavior written right now. That's why it doesn't move. And so what we want to do is to make it move. So it's the same. We just add new component, make it script, and let's call it, I already had try it, okay, mailbot. Let's make and it's language C#. You have like you can choose one of the three languages, like JavaScript, C#, and some Boo. I don't know what is Boo actually. So I like C#. It's more like object-oriented. Actually, JavaScript is also not quite a JavaScript. It's more like a C#, turn it with JavaScript syntax. Underneath, it uses mono, so it's everything C#-like. So create and add. So we have here new script edit. We can call edit scripts, and it opens the MonoDevelop. They have a kind of modified version of MonoDevelop Unity, which supports real-time debugging and shaders modification and so on. Let's go back a little bit. Okay, visible, or I should make it bigger. It's okay. So by default, Unity adds a couple of methods here. One is method to start. It even shows me some comments like when it is called. So the whole Unity scripting is based on calling of event methods with predefined names. Those methods are not public, but they are called by the Unity engine using reflection. This is done by using reflection to save some performance, because if this mono behavior would have those methods already defined, and you just redefine them in your own class, the engine would have to call update, for example, update methods on every script in the scene all the time. But if they're using reflection, they call only the ones which are defined, actually. So how do we make it move? We add another component. It is called nav mesh agent. It is actually the Unity component made by Unity, which implements the shortest path finding algorithm. I could implement it by myself, but I don't want. I'm too lazy, so I use the ready one, and we can add it here as an attribute of the class. Public nav mesh agent. So it's kind of like navigation algorithm. So if we define a public class here, you can see that my Unity compiled my class right on the fly, and it created like a public attribute here. Where can I assign the value here? So I just take this agent and drag drop here. It means when I start the game, this attribute will be populated automatically. Very easy. Some modifications for this component. Has some parameters. I just wanted to meet the size of my robot. You can see it's like too high by default, like something like this. Yeah, it shows some debugging information also here. Okay. So let's get rid of those. What I want to do is to set destination of this pathfinding stuff to some random point around the robot. So I take transform position is the current position of the robot itself, and plus I add something random. 3 vector is like x, y, z coordinates. Y goes upwards, not like in the mathematics. If you learned mathematics in school well, you know that z goes upwards. But in 3D graphics, y goes upwards. So get just some random with range from -10 to 10, for example, for x. Same goes for, for y it's 0, so it stays on the same level, and for z it's the same, like some random. And actually this method update is called on every single rendered frame. If we have, for example, game rendering some 60 frames per second, this update will be called 60 times a second, which I don't want. I want this. I want my robot to change the direction not so often. So I define. I extract it to separate methods. Call it set direction. Something like this. And I will just make it more rare. Example. So time is time in seconds from the beginning of when the game was started. Last. +2. It means that It means that the robot will change position every 2 seconds. Float. We don't need to start right now. Something like this, I think. Let's check. I forgot one thing. Set this one. Yeah. So let's check how it works, if it works. I hope I didn't crash it. Whoa. Yes. So the boy went somewhere. So you can even see some debugging arrows which point to the direction where it is heading. The guy is using the colliders in the scene, which are not visible. Maybe I can show you. Collider. Yeah, the green ones. The green ones is actually the mesh, which is a little bit more primitive than the mesh which is visible for the eye, but it is used for to detect the collisions. For example, it's a little bit slow now, yeah. If you see the stairs, the mesh, which you see is much more complex, and the mesh for collisions is more simple, just to detect that the collision happened.
Is it auto-generated or manually?
It is usually generated manually, but I think some algorithms exist which can help you to generate it, but usually it is done manually.
You said in this update positioning method that it should add some random three-direction vector to its current position. Why doesn't it move upwards?
I will show you. Because we have here the y set to 0, so we only change the x and z coordinates. We can. What?
Make it fly.
Make it fly. Actually, I don't know. I think this nav mesh agent is implemented the way that it will always drop on the floor. Probably it won't fly, but we can try. Okay. If you wish, we can put random here. Actually, never tried it. Maybe it will even fly. Well, will it fly? Nah. I think it drops down. So it doesn't change anything. So nav mesh agent, it just checks where the floor is. Boring. Okay. I should implement a 3D pathfinding algorithm which makes it fly.
You created a script in the very beginning where you did put all this information, all this logic of movement this particular object.
Yeah.
How much data, how much data you usually place in a single class, and what is the naming convention for this class?
How much data?
How do you separate all this movement logic, for example, of a single scene?
For example, I have a robot who can move, and at the same time, this robot sometimes can start shooting someone, stop and start shooting. I can create 2 separate scripts, put them on the same object, and just make the third script who will choose which script is active. For example, when robot is moving, I can just wait a second. Where I have this male. So the male robots, I have my script, mailbot, so I have a checkbox here. If I turn it off, so it doesn't call the update anymore and the script doesn't work. So I can have several of those scripts, each one have different behaviors, and by checking and unchecking those, I can do it programmatically. I change behavior of robot. For example, it's one of, actually, in Unity doesn't define any conventions. You can create it any way you like. You can make it with one script or any number of scripts. So actually, it's one bad thing about Unity is it doesn't define any conventions. A lot of guys who are maybe not experienced enough to make their own conventions, they start making a mess from the code. Yeah, I saw it. It happens, especially with young developers. So the guy actually, it's quite philosophical that the guy moves in different direction all the time. Like sometimes it is work, sometimes it is hobby, but we also have a girl here. And the difference with the guy and the girl will be like the girl will have a target to move to. So the same procedure. Now mesh agent, same parameters, like this, and we add a script, and we will call it female bot. Female bot, yeah. Edit script. I will copy first the mailbot behavior. Don't do it at home, it's very bad. Don't do copy paste, just for the speed. Okay, and the difference will be that the girl will have another attribute, also public, transform, and will be called target, some target to move to. Also, once in 2 seconds, but difference will be won't be random, as you may guess, but it will go to sorry, like this. Target position. Position is the same type of vector 3, like with 3 coordinates. I think it should do. So yeah, Unity compiled. It has nav mesh agent here. I will just drag and drop here, and the target will be, as you probably guessed, the mailbot. Let's try it out. Yeah. So the mailbot is just running on its own, minding its own business, and the girl is following it. Like in real life.
Are you right now using some Unity built-in physics engine, or is it the same that you're using for the game?
Unity uses the PhysX engine developed by NVIDIA. It is the widely used physics engine used in most of the modern games, actually. And what is cool about this engine, it is using CPU processor if there is no GPU which can process the physics. For example, all NVIDIA video cards, they can help this engine to process physics so it works faster. But only NVIDIA. It's like proprietary. So any more questions about this part?
Can you one general question? You mentioned that you have approximately 3 gigs of assets in the game, right?
Yeah.
How do you control versions of all this stuff? You don't use Git probably, do you?
We use Subversion. So it takes quite like time to check out the project, but it's not a big problem if you don't check out it like too often. Actually, to check out the project, it takes less time than for Unity to open it the first time. And actually, Unity also starts to reprocess all the assets when you switch the platform. I will show you. It's very easy to make a build for the game with Unity. You just open build settings and you have wide choice of platforms here. Some Windows Phone, some Xboxes, and so on. For desktop, we have like 3 versions. It's very, very easy. You just have to select and press the switch button, so you start developing for another platform. The problem is when you press the switch button, it will start to re-import all the assets again. It takes again 40 minutes for our project. Quite inconvenient currently.
But you cannot have like multiple targets to build for.
I can, but every time I have to switch there and there. So when I need to create 3 builds for 3 platforms, I just switch to one, make a build, switch to second, make a build.
There's no automatic way to just deploy 3 platforms?
No. Because for each platform, it actually makes different changes for the assets. For example, iPhone uses different compression for the textures, which is more optimized for its GPU and so on. And it's like, so we have to reprocess everything. If you have bought the Pro Unity license, they have like a feature which is called asset cache server. You can put it somewhere in the office, and it caches all the processed assets, so you don't have to do it the same way again. So, like if some of your colleagues already imported the whole project for iPhone current state, and you switch to iPhone, it will just download everything. You just need to have good speed, internet speed. Like if it's local asset server, then it works good. But still. It could be optimized. Okay, if you're done with questions about this part, now I would like to show that developing video games is not just like point and clicking like I did right now.
One more question, please.
Yeah.
Let's say you want to make a multiplayer game.
Yeah.
Do you have to build the entire API on your own, or Unity provides some tool set in the box?
Unity has a tool set for multiplayer game, but it's only one type of multiplayer game, like for example, multiplayer first-person shooter where you have one of the instances running as a server, and there are other ones connecting to it. For example, it doesn't have the ready solution like a headless server, which has clients connecting to it, because our game is fully online, and we developed everything by our own. So we have server written in Java. We use Thrift, Apache Thrift protocol to connect between server and client, and everything is done like manually. But it's quite easy that you can use C# libraries for it, which work with Mono. Okay, so in game development, there are sometimes also some hard code, not code, but hard coding, which is quite complicated sometimes. It's when you develop shaders. Do you know what are shaders? Shaders are small programs which are executed by the GPU, not the CPU. GPU is a subprocessor which is placed inside your video card to render all the stuff which you see on the screen. What is interesting about GPU is that I will go back. Is that it's only forward processing. Like it doesn't have any jumpers in the code. You cannot have. So, for example, you can write an if statement in the shader, but if you write an if statement, both conditions will be processed by the processor. It's an interesting thing to have in mind. It is made for optimization. It is very highly optimized to process mathematics. Okay, I will show you. So, enough about behaviors. We have robot here, and we have shader, the material with a texture, and the shader defined here. So if I change, I have like some made by myself a very small simple shader, which is just white, nothing else. I will show the code. This one. So shader works this way, that we have two functions, this and this. One is vertex function, which is called for processing of each vertex of the mesh. I will show you here. So vertices of the mesh are those points where the lines are connected. So as many points we have, as many times this one is called. And this one is called for every pixel of the object. So when the object is drawn on the screen, it has some number of pixels here, which are all white currently. And for each pixels, this one is called. And you see it is white because I have returned 1 here. 1 is white, 0 is black. Easy. What is interesting about vertex shader is that I can change actually the shape of the object just using this shader. For example, I have the output here. This structure is passed between two functions. So if I have the position of the point in the 3D space, it's defined by the vertex shader and then passed to the pixel shader. So the pixel shader knows position in space of every pixel. If we have 2 points in space defined by vertex shader and the pixel is somewhere between them, then the parameter of the position is interpolated between them. So each pixel really knows its position in 3D space. For example, I can change this one. Just put it to vertex. Vertex, it is a position of a vertex inside the object itself. You can see, it changed. This matrix is actually used by Unity to define the position of the camera and the angle from which we are looking at the object. So if we ignore this matrix and just use the position of the pixel, so anywhere we turn the camera, it's still rendered the same way. What is interesting, if camera goes off the object, it stops rendering at all. So no shader functions are called. Okay, this was just an experiment. So what I want to do, I want to send from the vertex shader to pixel shader another parameter called norm, which will contain a normal direction. Everybody knows what is normal. Normal is like if we have some surface, so normal is a vector which is directed from the surface and perpendicular to the surface. Okay. Okay, it was in school program of mathematics. So we have a normal, pass it to like this. So we have this up-based structure which contains all the different parameters about this vertex which are pre-calculated for us by the engine. So we pass normal and we can use normal here. So it's the same structure. We take parameter from here. It's a little bit different type, so we have to convert it half 4. And like all the colors you understood what I did here. I just took a normal and turned it into color of the pixel. And 1 is alpha channel. Alpha channel is always 1, so it is not transparent. So anyone would suggest what we will see on the screen? If you have normal, we have x, y, z coordinates of a vector, and they are turned into RGB, red, green, blue colors of the surface. What will it be?
Each side will be color different.
Yeah, each side color different. Right. But which one is which? Okay.
Depends on the normal.
X, Y, Z, RGB. So R is red is X, green is vertical, and blue is Z. Yeah. Let's check it out. Maybe our hypothesis is correct. Yeah. So green is vertical, so that's why the topmost the surface actually depends on the direction of a surface. If we have surface, if it would be a cube, then the top surface would be totally green. This one will be totally red, like here, and the other one blue. What is interesting that we have actually the number of vertices is very limited comparing to the number of pixels. But each pixel has an interpolated color. It means the normal is also interpolated. It's very cool. You can actually from this, like the rendering of this object is infinite possibilities. Any questions about it? No questions. Everything. Okay. Actually, I was already finishing. This was the last thing I was talking about. Okay. I don't know whether this still works. I had some more stuff to talk about, but I won't manage. Maybe next time, because I have only 3 minutes left. Maybe more questions.
How popular is Unity in Estonia?
Unity is popular. It is quite popular among some indie developers and students. I know a lot of guys who just try to do something at home like a hobby. But as a professionally, I think we are the only company currently who is using it for the real projects in Estonia. Yeah.
And what engine is used by your competitors? Or are there any competitors?
Competitors. There are some competitors. I won't name them, probably better. But the game, which is our main competitor, made the same. It's the same engine, Unity also.
But they're not from Estonia, is it?
They are from Holland.
Okay.
They're from Holland.
What are the conventions or newbie mistakes that try to avoid? Don't use triggers or what's the new mistake?
To avoid
Performance, biggest problems.
Biggest problems with performance. If you use this update method, for example, you know that it is called on every single frame, and Unity calls all update methods in the same thread. It means it calls it one by one. You should very strictly watch what kind of logic you put in those update methods. For example, if you want to find some object using this, as I named it, CSS-like language, you shouldn't make this perform this find inside update. You should better find the object in the start method, for example, and save it as an attribute of a class to reuse it. So to make a cache, not to perform some complex tasks. And I don't know, Unity has a very cool feature called bundles, which are a feature which allows to download assets. For example, you run a game, but the game doesn't have all the assets inside, all the models or textures, and it would like to download some from the server. those bundles are very buggy, don't use them. We tried and we still have like nightmares. That's all. Then, thank you very much.